So it's a Reaction Monday. Oh, I got to turn on the, there we go. I'm going to turn on the board so we know what games we're staring at. John, here you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Reaction Monday means one thing, that we dive into Atlanta United pretty deep, take a peek at the weekend and whatever else is on your mind this morning. It's a Monday, so that means Abe Gordon comes in about 9 minutes. I think Abe is going to be busy at 92.9, so he might punch his stoplights a little early this morning because I think he's doing the midday. And then hour number 2 means it's Bart Keeler from the SoccerForUSPod. We'll look at cards and calls. I've got one call in particular that we need to look at. It's the JT Marcinkowski red from LAG and CF Montreal. And if there's anything else on Bart's mind that we might have missed, in addition to the beginning of the Premier League season where his beloved Arsenal was taking care of business against Coventry City. And we'll get into that this morning also. Obviously, we'll get into more of the news and notes. We've got a lot of the transfer stuff to go on, and we'll break it all down for you today. Last chance to remember that if you are, at least this week anyway, we've got last 2 matchups for picks of the week, and those are at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock today, where it is Argentina at 3 and Panama at 9, in addition to the 6 matches and the tiebreaker that have already happened. We'll go over tomorrow what happened in picks of the week, and we'll set up the table for the rest of for the following week or this week. So last week would be this week when we talk about it tomorrow late. So there you go. Morning, Dave. Morning, Alex. And morning, Abby. And I heard that Abby was the volunteer for the 3v3 question for the Hoff in the bowl on Sunday when it came to your best 3 for 3. So the Hoff goes to Abby, and Abby had her answers. So that was I heard about that in the production room. I didn't know that this was going to happen until we talked about it in the pre-flight. But Abby got to give her 3 for 3. All right. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend. It means from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. MLS After Dark sometimes kind of has its own moments. And I don't know why it always seems to be drifting back to San Jose. It was not a good night for San Jose until there was about a minute to go. Game had already been decided. I'm not talking about a final score or anything having to do with San Jose or anything like that, specifically what the Earthquakes were doing or what they weren't doing on the field on MLS After Dark on Saturday night. This happened if you missed it. Neil Sika, Kendra D. St. Albin on the call from PayPal Park, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer.
Value of what they built up, though, with those 9 wins in the first 11 has set them up where they are still safely amongst the top 4.
There's a baby on the field.
You mentioned Chicken Little. I think she wanted a piece of the screen time.
That's way better than the raccoon. Remember the raccoon? Wasn't that a raccoon last year? They had to put in like
Philadelphia.
Trash. Yes.
Yeah. A true trash pan. But we got a beer and a baby tonight.
How did they make it all the way out there? I mean, she was like on the they were on the edge of the 18.
This has happened before at PayPal Park.
Has it really?
Toddlers wander out. I want to say it happened last year.
Like, are the parents just like, oh my gosh, I cannot go out there and get my child? Because I don't know, but you know what? They felt like they could contribute, I think.
Good reminder to the Quakes fans tonight to stay young at heart. Remember, it's just a game.
Lighthearted. It's just a game.
Yeah, San Jose needed all the help they could get, and the baby couldn't even help them out. It was that much out of control. So baby on board, baby on the field, and I don't think the mom's going to be able to live that one down. So we'll find out. So we'll see if there's any repercussion or if the mom comes forward. Yeah, that was my kid. Opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. Keep an eye on your kid, people, especially if you've got the expensive seats. Start your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Now we bring in Abe Gordon. Have you ever abandoned a baby and had it run out onto the field, sir?
One time my dog got off leash and kind of sprinted around chasing a ball. I don't know if that's quite the same, but no, I don't take babies to ball games because I don't have kids. So we'll start there.
Well, how about do you have any friends in your demo that take kids to games?
Yeah, that's their responsibility. I ain't watching them.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like they do their thing. Have these youngins ever got?
They got them on that backpack leash with the monkey tail. Yeah. They got ways to keep handles, literally and figuratively, on those.
Yeah,
so.
see, that's what I was getting to. That's what I was trying to figure out was how they handle things, and you just keep the kid on a leash, right?
Shot collar and treats, positive reinforcement,
and the 5-star Simpson harness to make sure they don't get out of the seat or anything like that. I see how this plays.
Yeah, of course.
You're doing midday, right?
I am.
Okay, so then that's why you punched in early, and so that's why I figure I'll keep you as long as humanly possible, so your planning is off the rails when it comes to doing the midday. 3 2-1s in a row, and you took care of business, and you're beating right now. You're beating a team that you should have beaten in Sporting Kansas City because they're just not good.
Yeah, and I think that's the delineation from those first 2-1 victories and what you saw last night at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium is that you took care of business in a way that you're supposed to. You went up early by 2 goals, as a matter of fact, in the first half and just kind of cruised from there. Yes, you conceded midway through the second half, and you had to bite your nails a little bit at times the last 25 minutes, but you did what you're supposed to do and pick up 3 points at home against a team that is worse than you. And I understand they were at the bottom of the table in the West. You were technically at the time the bottom of the table in the East, but I think most of us probably felt that this team is all the sum of the parts are better than the worst team in the Eastern Conference. And I think you've started to see that a little bit in recent weeks. And you and I have talked about it, man. It really is happening at every level, which is the first time you can say that, I think, in certainly this season, but even going back, I think the defense has played outstanding. I think Lucas Hoyos, he wasn't asked to do very much yesterday, but in the 2 games prior, he was outstanding. I think another center back pairing in Diaz and Alonso. I've been joking with you and joking with Maddie. It's like the 7th straight different center back pairing, and some of that has to do with match compression. Some of that had to do with the red card suspension, but yeah, you just kind of mix and match in there. It hasn't made too much of a difference one way or the other. And the job on the outside by both Jacob and Baez. And then you move into the midfield, and you really love what you're seeing out of that trio with Adrian Gill, Cooper Sanchez, certainly, and then Moyamba as well. And then up top, look, you moved on from Latte Lot, and you started to ask yourself, how are you going to score goals? Who is Alexei Miranchuk going to be setting up for? Fafa Pico, I didn't know if that would be the correct answer, but that's been the answer of recent. He's been outstanding. The work rate's incredible up there. And you're seeing Miggy be much more creative at times as well. It just feels like the first time all season, John, that it's kind of coming together. You do that in terms of running 3 straight wins, and you now have Brel and Bolo right on the precipice here to continually add to that. Mauricio Amaro probably relatively soon, hopefully, as well. There is reason for optimism. We mentioned this with you last night on the Full-Time Report. We're not going to get crazy. We're not going to go out of their skis. We're not going to start talking about them hosting a playoff series. We understand that. But for the first time this season, I really do feel that there is some reason for optimism here.
And, you mentioned the center backs. We'll just go from the back to the front. You mentioned the center backs, and because of all of these things in play that you have mentioned, the fact that you are now getting folks healthy, the fact that you are now getting to choose, this is a choose your own adventure right now. And it's like Paulo Diaz coming into this rotation. You're seeing what you get with the Junior Alonso. You get an AME high and his physicality. And so Matt Edwards when he's needed, Stian Gregerson when he's needed, when you need somebody tall for set pieces and to defend late. When you need all the center backs in there to preserve a lead, you just send them all in. It's a good luxury to have, especially when they're all healthy and can contribute in various ways if you need a certain setup to go up against a certain opponent.
Yeah, and with the health, and you're obviously still waiting on Jay Fortune, but you did get Will Riley back. I think now you also start to see the impact it can have when you are faced with match compression and what it allows you to do. You were able to take subs yesterday. I don't remember the exact moment, 60th minute, 65th minute. I mean, you were pulling guys out earlier than normal with the understanding that, hey, this is your third match in 8 days. These guys have run 90 minutes the past 2 matches. And the guys you have on the bench are legitimate. They're dudes. You're not taking steps back. You can afford to bring in a Stian Gregerson, like you said, a Matt Edwards, a Will Riley, whether it's because you want to avoid a second yellow card and someone's playing a little bit risky, or just you want to try and get some legs in there. It's all understandable. And there have been times where you were just shallow, either because of lack of quality or because of injury. You were shallow. And when you make a substitution, you knew it came with the risk of, all right, we're not as strong here. That's not the case right now. And I would argue that maybe still is the case in the midfield while Jay Fortune is out to some extent. But that's certainly not the case along the back line. Definitely not in the center back where you could have pulled out a number of different guys to mix and match and be comfortable there. And that's going to protect you over the remainder of the season. This isn't the only time you're going to have 3 matches in a week. You've got other midweek matches coming up. And so you are going to have to be rotating a little bit more than probably you would like. But it affords you the ability to rotate without losing anything on the field, on the macro level. I'm sure, everyone has their strengths or weaknesses as individuals, but overall, the defense, again, 3 straight games. You haven't gotten a clean sheet yet, but 3 straight games with only 1 goal conceded. I think generally this team, and I would argue most teams in MLS are probably going to take that and feel like you can at least get a draw or a win if you're only conceding 1 goal per match. I would feel pretty good about chances most weeks.
Defensive garanimals is what we've got right now. Will Riley came in the 62nd for Adrian Gill, who had been putting in, let's see what, 180 and 62, 242 minutes over 8 days. Luke Brennan came in. He lasted 15 minutes. He went down with an injury. We'll keep an eye on that. Stian Gregerson and Matt Edwards come in. Stian comes in the 73rd. Matt Edwards and Steven Alzate help you out defensively with 13 to go. So you had that, and you still had an AME high and Ronald Hernandez available for you. Sergio Santos in attack if you needed it. So those pieces were there for you. And once again, we're talking about Tristan. We're not talking about Muyumba. We're talking about Tristan going forward and being engaged as a part of the offense and giving you more headaches if you're trying to figure out what I've got to do to defend. And specifically where Miguel Almiron is concerned, Miggy tries to create early on. He had the early opportunity with Jacob on the wayward cross in the 3rd minute, but Miggy found some ways to really cause headaches for Sporting Kansas City defensively down that left-hand side, because we had figured that they could be had, meaning Sporting could be had if you have the speed that you've got with Atlanta United working the edges, and then you have the artistry in the middle, and you end up with Miggy putting Mosqueda in the spin cycle a couple of times that ended up in a goal.
Yeah, look, part of me wants to not overreact to how Atlanta United looked against Sporting Kansas City, because with respect, like, Miggy shouldn't be running past anyone defensively at this stage of his career. Just based on pure speed, he shouldn't be running past guys. He was able to run past Sporting Kansas City like that. That's pathetic. It just, if we can take it, really, like, I'm sorry, it is like he's. So we can't just rely on like Miggy playing the ball to himself in space and sprinting past dudes on a weekly basis. We understand that, so I don't want to overreact too much to how dangerous he was.
Right.
But I do think you see Miggy now more as an understanding creator than as a eye for goal scorer. And I think that boosts everyone. And you're only able to do that because you have Muyumba, Tristan, behind him. You have Alexi alongside him, and you have Fafa in front of him. And he feels like there's help where he's going. And I think you saw him, again, you mentioned it. He put old dude in a blender and spun him around a couple times. It's like the Dairy Queen blizzard. He turned that thing upside down to make sure it was sticking. That guy wasn't pulling himself back off the turf. He didn't want
Mosqueda had a long day.
Yeah. And so, it's an outstanding showcase for Miggy. We just came off that run where he had scored 3 goals in 3 consecutive matches. Now he picked up 2 more assists last night. He's getting assists off corners. He's getting assists off of open play. And the other thing, and kind of mentioned this last night, I think you're seeing when things are good going forward, when things are good in the attack, you're seeing these guys also become willing defenders. Mm-hmm. And that has made a ton of difference. We've seen Miggy last night defending back. We've seen at times Fafa Pico dropping as deep as necessary to help out in the defense. And then Alexi's just able to float and do all sorts of nonsense in a positive manner there. So again, don't want to overreact to it, but it just, everything seems to be going right at this moment. And I think that's partly because this is the most confident this team has been all season. This is the most connected. The chemistry is there all season. You if you remember going back, and you could talk about this, I think you brought it up post-game last night. If you remember going back early in the season, maybe especially building out of the back, there was not only a little bit of panic, but some miscommunicated passes that ended up becoming threats for the opposing team. And not to say that you're never going to run into that again, but you just didn't really deal with that in recent weeks. Like the back line and the midfield are connected. They're also willing to take some of these more risky passes. I mean, your first goal, I think, develops off of a risky pass. Mm-hmm. Elias Baez plays it to Cooper Sanchez where there is not much space. And if you do turn it over there, you could find yourself in real trouble because of the press and what Sporting KC was doing. Elias Baez finds an angle to get it to Sanchez. Sanchez turns, kind of fakes like a turn inside and turns outside, and now he's got space. He goes up the field. It eventually finds its way to Miggy. Miggy eventually finds it to Jacoba. I don't know if we see them playing out of the back, both with the pass and with Cooper Sanchez's run early in the season. It felt like early in the season, that's a ball that gets deflected, turned over, and is headed back towards your goal. You can definitely see a difference in communication, the connectivity, the confidence, and quite frankly, a little bit of risk as well.
Or you're not processing it and just, it's like, okay, all of this stuff is going on in front of me. I'm going to keep it safe and I'm going to play it backward, or I'm going to try and find somebody who has some space around them where I think they can create, and we can continue to draw that pressing defense forward and closer to me. Where yesterday, as an example, you're finding those little pockets. You're finding, like when you've got the quarterback who sees that window, and it's like, all right, I'm throwing it to my receiver. I don't care if the 2 linebackers are there in front of it. I can get it through those 2 linebackers and get it to my guy once he settles in the zone. So we're seeing those kinds of responses now offensively when it comes to the passing game, if you want to try to bring it to an American football parlance.
Yeah, before that first goal really was fascinating, because before you got in the ball to Cooper and then he finds the space, you really did have about 45 seconds of passing the ball around your own back left side of the field, where it was guys who were under pressure, guys are trying to find a way out of it, but at the same time, to your point, guys didn't panic. And it was, I mean, it really was, there were 3 or 4 different guys who were kind of all playing their triangles and doing their thing, but short, quick, moving it around, and it wasn't working. It wasn't escaping danger, but they didn't force more danger, and they eventually did find a way out. I mean, you'd have to go back and look, not just the build-up, but the build-up to the build-up. It really was an interesting run of play there for a number of guys just trying to, and Tristan was involved in that. Baez certainly was involved in that. And just all that passing without putting the ball in too much danger. You didn't escape danger, but you didn't put it in danger, and then eventually you did find the pass that got you out of danger and got you attacking. Some really fascinating movement and teamwork and understanding of what's going on there. And again, it just didn't feel like you were having that style early in the season. It felt like when you got pressured, there was panic, either just blasted out of bounds, blasted up field, whatever it was. And you're right. People are playing comfortably right now in a positive manner.
And it was interesting on that. And I might be mixing my possessions, so don't hold me to it. But there were times where, as Atlanta United is working their way from right to left, you would see Sporting's defense pin Atlanta in to the near touchline, and it would be 1v4. It would be a 2v4 where you're seeing Atlanta United and that extra defender that we talk about you're not having a whole lot of space and you're trying to pass on a phone booth and it's still happening. You're just thinking quicker and you get out of jams that way.
Yeah, and again, a lot of that has to do with confidence in the guys who are maybe a little bit further behind you, a little bit further towards essentially your center backs. Who, hey, if we turn this over, these guys are going to pounce. They're gonna turn it right back over. And so, yeah, I just feels like at times you would just blast the ball up the field, cede possession, and go from there. And the other thing, and this is like a Sporting Kansas City issue, that's on them. I actually thought they had some really interesting play out of the midfield at times. They were just atrocious in the final third. There was no real I actually thought that some of their vision and movement and passing was really good as they attempted to build. But once they made the first pass or two into their build, it kind of just fell apart. And some of that's bad touch. Some of that's lack of quality, whatever it is. They had some interesting play in the midfield. That's a team that if they can get some goal scorers and maybe a little bit quicker defensively can be, I'm not going to say they could be good, but like not the worst team in MLS. But what we saw last night, it was not great. It was not great play from them. And look, just happy that Atlanta United is going to take advantage, and they've got bigger challenges coming. Obviously, you're taking on Charlotte now, right? Like Charlotte's top 5 in the Eastern Conference, looking for a way to get up to 4 to host one of those games. But you are home again. You've won your last 2 home games for Atlanta United. And again, this is the best run of form that they've had at least this season, if not multiple seasons. We all have heard the stat now. First time they won 3 straight since 2021. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's 5 years, John. Like, it's 5 years. And I'm not saying this is the best run of form in 5 years, but just in terms of what it has been right now, you're looking forward to hopefully showing that this can be something you can build on and hold steady, not just, hey, you got lucky here, you got lucky there, you played a worse team there. No, you're going to need to have these results against teams that are in the playoffs, like Charlotte. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, because I think if you get a result against Charlotte, certainly if you get 3 points and win 4 straight and whatever, like now you start to have a discussion about like, okay, like what is this team? Mm-hmm. What are we because beating Minnesota, who's not great at home, and they were a fringe playoff squad. It's great. It's great to go on the road and get 3 points. Understandable. Red Bulls were kind of hanging around. They were, I think, 6th or 7th at the time, but it's real tight there. And then they dropped a little bit, and they're so wishy-washy anyways. You know, at some point you're going to have to beat a team that's good consistently. And I'm not saying that's necessarily Charlotte either. Yeah. But those are going to be the real measuring sticks. I mean, you opened our conversation, did what you're supposed to do against a team like Sporting Kansas City, and respect for doing that. We've seen this team at times not do what you're supposed to do. But at some point you're supposed to, quote, do what you're not supposed to do in the positive manner, which is beat a team that is securely in the playoffs. And you get that opportunity to do so at home on Saturday. And if you accomplish that, now we really start to have a discussion about, yes, what the rest of this season could be, but also, hey, if this is what we have now, and we're adding a Morrow, and we're adding a Bolo, and we're going to have another transfer window before the sprint season, what can the next season or two be with this kind of group of core players before some of those contract decisions that you and I have discussed really come to pass? And
Charlotte is 7:30, so 7:40 kick, which means Saturday night, 6:30 for Five Stripes Countdown with you and Madison Cruz, and the Band of Thousands at Mercedes-Benz once again on Saturday night. So when does your shift start, sir?
My shift never ends, man. Like we're here officially on air. We're at 11. Okay. I'll be behind the glass though. So the other guys, Andy and Randy, are doing all the heavy work. But looking forward to that. A lot of discussion on the other football. Certainly
do you get to heckle appropriately from the other side of the glass?
I heckle normally to a point. Then Randy gives me a stare, and then I'm like, all right, I'll pipe down now. That's normally how it goes.
Okay, just checking. So we wish you safe other side of the glass this morning, and thanks again as always.
Some days are safer than others, but
exactly. Yeah. So we'll see you Saturday, my friend. Thanks for dropping in.
Thank you, John. We'll chat soon.
There he goes. He's going to be properly hydrated and everything as he's behind the glass for Andy and Randy. So Andy and Randy and Abe coming up at 11. So That should be fun. That's why I like, when Abe said he's on the other side of the glass for this, and that's why I asked if he likes to heckle or he gets the chance to heckle. Then Randy Cumbry sits there and wanders over, probably puts his hands on the glass and basically tells him to stop. And then Abe's like, okay. So Andy, Randy, and Abe, 11 o'clock on 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. So that's why we had to kind of let Abe go at 9:30 regardless, so he can get everything all squared away there at the Colony Square Studios for 92.9 The Game and Odyssey and all points in between. So let's see who's in this morning so far. I saw the OG had drifted in. Let's see. Abby is in. I do not have an update on Luke Brennan. They probably, until the first opportunity that the coaching staff has midweek, we may not necessarily know, because they're probably going to want to monitor it a little bit and see how it responds to ice and elevation and maybe some electric stim, and we'll see what happens there. But we'll keep an eye on Luke. Luke was in for the sum total of 15 minutes before he went out with an injury. But we'll keep an eye on that this week as you get ready for Charlotte. Obviously, a week with Charlotte means that we will catch up with the voice of Charlotte FC, Will Pelagic, at some point this week, and we will find out what is going on up there with Alan St. Maximin and his integration into the lineup. And we will get our Charlotte intel and find out what the latest is with them. The intel on Sporting, just so everybody has it straight, right now, yesterday, Dejan Joveljic was not in the game day squad. And there have been reports that he was already out on the West Coast and getting ready to get things squared away to where he gets to have a new home, and trying to figure out the contract dynamics is probably the way that I'll phrase it. The contract dynamics of having Dejan Joveljic in, and apparently the linchpin in all of this is the contract of Albert Rusnak. So Joveljic to Seattle, if and when they can get Rusnak squared away. And then apparently Sporting is chasing after Fernandez Mercado from NYCFC. And they had fronted a boatload of money. They were like, hey, here, and just pushed all the money to the center of the table. It's like Casino Royale. Just everything goes forward. So all of that right now, Sporting can't move on NYC until they get Joveljic off to Seattle. And so right now, Sporting is a team that's just kind of there. You don't have your number one striker because you're sending him on his way and you're waiting for another scorer to come in, but you can't have that other scorer come in until you get rid of your striker. So that's kind of where you are right now. You're in this roster limbo, and not having Dejan Joveljic actually, you could see how much of a difference it was yesterday when your front line in a 4-4-2 was Taylor Calera and it was Magomed Suleimanov in a 4-4-2. So you could tell, and that back line yesterday, Karic, Meyer, Mosqueda, and Jake Davis. And then Jake Davis had to be subbed out at 45. Justin Reynolds came in for the second 45. And after Karic got the yellow, Jaden Reed came in for the final 30. But that initial back four, it was an adventure and a half for them. Much to Atlanta's benefit, but nevertheless, it was an adventure for them. Morning, Michael Head. Morning, Katie Weaver. So glad to have all of you in here this morning on a Reaction Monday. So let's go over the starting lineup. We've got your highlights, got some posts here. Once again, Bart, Keeler, SoccerForUSPod is going to be joining us at the top of the next hour. Starting lineup, Lucas Hoyos in net in the 4-2-3-1. Elias Baez, Junior Alonso, Paulo Diaz getting his first start for Atlanta United. Gave you 73 minutes. We'll get into him as we go in the highlights. And then Tomas Jakob, the double nickel out on the right-hand side. Your two midfielders, 2/3, your defensive midfielders, Adrian Gill, once again, Cooper Sanchez. They had Tristan Muyamba listed. Fatmob and everybody had him listed more as a midfielder in the attacking side of things than the defensive side. But, if Tristan goes forward, Adrian Gill stays back. Cooper Sanchez perhaps drifts into the play, or he's, depending on the situation, Cooper's the swing midfielder. Adrian Gill's going to be the one that stays as a part of that pair of defensive sixes. Then Miggy obviously on the left, Miranchuk on the right, and Fafa Pico up top. So that was your starting lineup. And Atlanta really didn't waste a whole lot of time in getting on the board. We get two versions, and this is when we like to do the two versions. So because it's a home call, we're going to go ahead and start the first goal. 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. Tomas Jakob gets the goal for Atlanta United. Once again, we talked about early chance in the third. 10 minutes later, goal number 1. Mike and Jason on the call.
Miggy into the box, left side. Miggy fakes the shot. Mosquera goes to ground. Miggy with a cross. Shot. Score! Tomas Jakob! Tomas Jakob has now scored in back-to-back matches. Miguel Almiron's got his 5th assist of the year, and that is a very pretty team goal by Atlanta United to take the 1-0 lead.
When playing out of the back goes right, a lot of people get very upset about teams that risk in build-up. Show them that clip. Break down that clip. Because Atlanta United could have sent the ball into the stands, given up on the play, and that doesn't happen. They build up with Junior Alonso, with Tristan Muyumba, with Elias Baez, and it's Baez to Gill that springs everything. Then Gill's able to turn his perfectly weighted ball to Almiron, gets you into the attacking third. Then there's still a whole lot to do, and Miguel Almiron is able to craft the space to pick out Tomas Jakob, who had turned into a second striker. Atlanta 1-0.
All right, and by the way, since I got the chance to check just YouTube specifically, Morning Local, glad to have you in here as well. So it's 1-0, and that's one version. Here is the other version from Sunday Night Soccer and our friends at Apple TV. Here's how they broke down goal number 1.
Huge part of that, but you're talking about a veteran American at the time. Not a 20 and 17-year-old starting in the midfield tonight.
Almiron, gets Mosquera and cuts it back. Easy goal for Atlanta United. Almiron did the hard work. Tomas Jakob, the beneficiary. Atlanta's up 1-0.
Can this Miguel Almiron be the Almiron that Atlanta United gets for the rest of his career? Post-World Cup, 3 goals, now 2 assists, in and out. Getting by Mosquera with ease, and then delivering a soft ball to the back post for Tomas Jakob to finish that. But Miguel Almiron put Mosquera on skates. Sporting Kansas City giving up goals for free. That is now the 50th goal they've given up this year. Atlanta United will take it 1-0 early on here in Atlanta.
I was looking at the numbers, and this is the wild part about it. Moises Mosquera was the highest rated defender on the day. And actually, he was the highest rated position player in the starting 11 for Sporting Kansas City. Being put in the blender and standing still apparently don't give you don't have numbers taken away from your top scoring, from your possibilities. Legitimately, and I'm not kidding, this is FOTMob. Of the starting 11, Moises Mosquera, who looks like he could wander over to Colombia and be a down lineman. He could be a rush end. Moises Mosquera was the highest rated defender and the only player in the starting 11 that rated over a 7. Considering what happened to him on the goal, and then what he didn't do in this particular highlight, which was goal number 2, Atlanta United out to a 2-0 lead on this particular on this particular element that was attached to it. So here was goal number 2. Like I said, we're going to start with our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer. But yeah, here was the Fafa Pico goal that made it 2-0.
Now the corner sent in by Almiron, and in! Pico the flick! 2-0 Atlanta!
No defending. No set-piece defending whatsoever. Bassong looks like he's supposed to be on Fafa Pico. He doesn't track him. So you've got some man marking, some zonal marking, but just horrific defending from Sporting Kansas City. And it basically deflects off of Fafa Pico. And it's a 2-0 lead.
Kind of, sort of. But it kind of deflected, kind of didn't. The way that I would look at it is this, that the defending was suboptimal. And we'll get into that. Here's the Mike and Jason call of the Fafa Pico goal, which was great guidance by Fafa Pico on the set piece.
Almiron to send this in out of the far corner. Alexei Moranchuk is a short corner option. They go long instead into the goal mouth again. Flicked into the net by Fafa Pico. And for the second time in as many home matches, Atlanta United has scored with Fafa Pico off a corner.
Set pieces have been really good lately. Almiron, it gets through 2 Kansas City players. You had a run to the near post from Baez. I don't think he got a touch, but it got through 2 guys behind him, and Pico just has to get something on it. Inside of the foot / shin / knee. It doesn't matter. It's in the back of the net. 2-0 Atlanta.
And not wrong, but it was well guided by Fafa Pico and Five Stripes. Carolina does make a good point. We have to, as we get later on in the week, but knowing this, Elias Baez with the yellow card accumulation suspension for Charlotte, you've got to figure out now what it's going to look like on the left-hand side of the attack. That is going to be the major question going in. And also, if Dean Smith takes advantage of that and tries to work down that right-hand side of the attack, going up against whoever's going to be the left back or whatever the left back situation is for Atlanta United, and maybe it ends up as something akin to a 5 at the back in a 3-5-2, where you've got more center backs to help out to make sure that the rush isn't what you want it to make sure that the rush from Charlotte isn't what they want to accomplish. Maybe it's adding an extra body back there, and you can do that now. But you wonder now what the center back pairing is going to be. You wonder what it's going to happen at left back. But yeah, good point by Five Stripes Carolina. Welcome, by the way. And that is going to be a big question for Atlanta going forward. So what's it going to look like? But you've got the entire week to figure it out, and you've also got to see what those little societies look like in practice. But like I said, knowing this going in, you've got a full week to figure it out and try and figure out the relationships. But don't be surprised if Charlotte tries to work their attack up the right-hand side, going up against whatever the left back situation is for Atlanta United. That second goal, by the way, the second goal, you literally had Meyer, Bassong, Mosqueda, and Bassong in a line. Of those 3, Bassong, who is a midfielder, was the one who was doing most of the moving. Literally, Fafa Pico was behind, and I think Basong was on Fafa somewhat. But literally, Fafa Pico goes around Moises Mosquera, which is, traditionally very difficult to do just because of his size. But also when Moises Mosquera was standing still, literally you had 3 or 4 dudes for Sporting Kansas City just staring. They all got caught ball watching. And Fafa Pico just appears from the back row, wanders up to the front row, grabs the popcorn and the icy, and he just flicks it into the net. It was just, they were ball watching. I can't think of any other way to phrase it. They were standing still. And when the opposition is standing still, you take advantage of that. Fafa Pico did to make it 2-0, and that was it for the offense. Now, and this is to give you an idea about the highlights of this match. Obviously, the goal by Stephen Afrifa with 20 to go kind of made things a little hairy. But you end up with, if you look at YouTube or what have you, just to give you an idea about this match, they have the individual goals clipped that you can watch at MLSsoccer.com and the individual situations and things like that. Then they have the large 10-minute thing. And it specifically ran 70%, literally, of the 10 minutes and 13 seconds. I think it's safe to say that 6.5 to 7 minutes of it was first half. And then you had the goal by Sporting Kansas City, which probably gets you to about 8 minutes of content. So you only devoted 2 minutes of that entire 10 minutes of the mega edit to a goal in the second half and everything that happened in the first half. That's it. That's what this game was. It was so locked down at halftime. Literally, Major League Soccer in their edit, they go 6.5, 7 minutes of first half, and then they just kind of waited. I was like, oh, okay. We got a goal from Kansas City, and then the end, and then the ending. But literally, their edit was so first half heavy that should tell you everything about what was going on. So Atlanta United took care of business. Katie, can you remind me when that was? The body check that didn't get called as a penalty. Do you remember where that was? Because I might be able to chase it down here and run it in this segment if you can think about when it was. And I'm trying to remember, but I was kind of running around myself trying to figure out when it was, and I can't off the top of my head. So if you could crowdsource the hip check, the second half on Miggy in the box. Okay. Oh goodness, when was that? See, I wish I had a timestamp on that, because then I could sit here and look at it, and I could probably edit it really quickly. I just don't have a timestamp on the moment. Okay. It was, and because it wasn't even a foul too. Do I have it in my notes? Hang on just a second. See, and like I said, this is great live. This is great live television. I know. Fafa, Riley, Afrifa, Almiron, no foul, 86th minute. Okay, so let me see if I can do a little movie magic here. So it was in the 86th minute, and do I still have it in the rundown? Yes. Okay, so 86th minute would be. Let's see. So 10 minutes in, 42. So let's see. So 45 would be 55. And then it would be an hour would get you to the first half. Hour 20 would get you to the second half. And then hour 20 would be in the second half. So if it's in the 86th, that's 40. So 41 to there would be like 201. Because I've got it in timeline, and I'm trying to edit it to see if I can figure out where that space was. Let me see if I can. If you hear it, I apologize.
I don't want to diminish anything about what this team has done. Yeah, that was a little more work than you would have liked in those moments. But
things here at the same time.
This team just won 3 games in a row.
Okay, so that is the end at 158.50. So if we go back to 150.
Frifa, Edwards digging for it, and Jacob digs it away
Waiting
at the
for a
corner flag, and then he is
timestamp
pushed
here.
down and fouled by a Frifa.
Find out where.
And Jacob will be slow to get up with the match now in the 88th minute.
Right, so 88th minute is there. So I go back to 148 on my timeline. I'm staring at my timeline and editing at the
So
same time.
unless my eyes deceive me, Jason, it looks like Alzate is playing left attacking wing for Atlanta United.
Okay, so
He's in the midfield with Riley, Muyamba, and Alzate. That's your trio. Alzate's just flared much wider to the left than Muyamba is to the right.
Kansas City with the throw off the far touchline. 85th minute, 2-1 Atlanta United. This portion of the match brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Official luxury vehicle of your Atlanta United. Long diagonal for Reed over the head of Edwards, and Reed's got it in the near attacking corner, and then is scuffed by Edwards. Reed grabbing at him as Edwards manages to pass to Alonso, who clears it down the middle to Alzate.
I know, this is
Almiron at the
radio,
right halfway line, slowly coming forward into the Kansas City half. Then is past Meyer to the edge of the 18. He's shouldered off the ball at the edge of the 18 by Mosquera. No penalty, correct call. Back the other way comes Kansas City. Fans boo, but I think that's the right call. Capita now at the right halfway line for SKC.
So all right, and literally this is about a 20-second. It's about a 20-second thing that I found. Like I said, I was literally scrubbing as we were looking for it, and if I violated any kind of tenet when it came to radio, I apologize. So all right, so now I'm going to export, and like I said, since we found it and I wrote it down, that was the big thing. Miggy 86th 824. All right, so there, I found it. All right, so here is. Let me see if I'm gonna load it real quick, and I could go back and look at the video. So the live search. It's exactly what we're doing. So I'm gonna upload that 20 seconds, considering I was scrubbing the whole freaking thing. Miggy 86. Okay, so we'll upload it, and once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Here was that call late.
Reed grabbing at him as Edwards manages to pass to Alonso, who clears it down the middle to Alzate. Up to Almiron at the right halfway line, slowly coming forward into the Kansas City half. Then is past Meyer to the edge of the 18. He's shouldered off the ball at the edge of the 18 by Mosquera. No penalty, correct call. Back the other way comes Kansas City. Fans boo, but I think that's the right call.
So there you go. That was so TV thought, okay. So TV thought that it was a cheap shot. I thought it was a foul. I thought that Mosquera didn't catch him square, but no, I thought it was a foul. So we'll let that ride and see where it was. Okay, so we got some. There's one other moment that I wanted to play before we get into other things, and it was the debut of Paulo Diaz. And like I said, Paulo Diaz to me was in consideration for man of the match. First time out there, first time start, and you're paired with Junior Alonso, and you have moments like this, and there were 3 in the first half where Paulo Diaz was introduced to both Major League Soccer and to Atlanta United fans. This was the third of those moments. Once again, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Now 20 yards from the end line. Cut back in the midfield to Davis. Davis now dribbling past Almiron, past Muyamba. And then Capita is stuffed by Diaz, who bodies him away from the ball as Hoyos tumbles over it at the edge of the 6.
Capita tried to run through Paulo Diaz and ran into a brick wall.
I think we're going to like this guy.
That's one of the best defensive plays I've seen all season, and Diaz didn't even try to play the ball. He just shields Capita off of it. Capita tries to run through him, and it's physically impossible.
Yeah, so don't do that, or do it at your own peril. So, yeah, Paulo Diaz, for those that might have missed the numbers on Paulo Diaz in his debut, he went 73 minutes. So, had 58 of 64 passing, 91%, 1 chance created, 8 defensive contributions on 73 touches, 8 passes into the final third, 6 of 9 on long balls, so accurate on 6 long balls and 8 passes into the final third, 8 defensive contributions, 8 clearances. 3 of them were headed, 1 recovery, and he won 2 duels in the air. Plus the slide tackle that knocked the ball out in the 27th minute and the moment that we played with Capita. So Paulo Diaz, welcome to Atlanta United. So you had that at the back line, finished with a 7.2. But, yeah, with Baez, Junior Alonso, Paulo Diaz, and Tomas Jacob, it was definitely a long day for the folks in sporting Kansas City colors. Post-match, we'll start with Cooper Sanchez. We'll work our way from the back to the front. And so here's Cooper Sanchez after the match. In the locker room, Maddie and Jason caught up with him after the 2-1 win, unless, of course, I don't load it, which would be really good. That was good, John. That's fantastic. That was just brilliant on your part. You sit there and it's like, yeah, I was wondering what it looked like. So, yeah, okay, here, yeah, okay. And so we'll do the same thing with Fafa Pico in a second, just picking the wrong thing to load or not enough to load. And here's Cooper Sanchez, Maddie, and Jason.
Big win at home, Cooper. Just talk to me a little bit about how difficult that second half was.
Yeah, obviously it's tough. I think 2-0 and, football in general, as it's known, is the hardest lead to, keep. Obviously they get a goal, but I thought we stuck it out and ultimately got the 3 points, and that's the goal. So
this week, I mean, it feels like the confidence of this team is flying high right now. I just looking at the types of passes that you and Adrian and Tristan are attempting, it feels like there's just more confidence in the group. Are you guys feeling that in training and in games?
Yeah, obviously that comes with, the wins, but also just the coaching staff and the players around us putting trust in us in our abilities to do that, to get them the ball and to get them in, goal scoring opportunities, because that's where they're best at, like guys like Miggy and Alexi and Fafa. So that's where we want to get them.
How has Adrian helped in the midfield?
A lot. No, it's been great playing with him. He does a lot of dirty work as well as I do. So it's good to have someone with me doing that. I think all 3 of us in midfield do that, and that's why we're ultimately pulling wins together.
With the offense also clicking, it feels like, especially with the way the team played in the first and in a little bit in the second too, playing with that confidence, how important has it been to get those goals going to help the team going forward?
Yeah, I think it's really important to get the goals early. Obviously, the last couple of games we've gotten scored on early against Red Bulls in the first 5 minutes, and that was a different type of game to come back and win that 1-2-1. But to get goals early and kind of see out the result like we did today was a great thing for the team and the club in general.
Big signing today. You get the opportunity for Brill to be introduced to the fans, and you guys get a chance to chat.
Yeah, a little bit. We all said hi to him in the locker room today, so he looks like a great guy, and yeah, it would be a great addition to the squad.
And that was Cooper Sanchez at a very low volume, because that was the other thing I forgot to do was EQ it. Yeah, so I've EQ'd it. I'll play it again now that I finally EQ'd it. I was like, yeah, just because you download it doesn't mean it's the right volume. So I'll play Fafa, and then we'll play Cooper again after we bid adieu to Bart Keeler and his Arsenal Gunners. So it is that time where we bring in Bart for hour number 2. And I'm shocked that you're wearing your Arsenal jersey.
John, you'll be shocked by this. Look at the coffee mug I'm drinking out of.
Look at you. Look at you.
You win 3 in a row. I might recognize you as a football team.
Yes. Yes, of course. So if you would please go into your settings and go into your video settings and hit and slide mirror camera. So that way, all of your logos. There you go. See? Yes. And so everything is now mirrored. So that way it reads Visit Rwanda instead of.
We don't need to read that.
No, instead of Tisiv Adwar, it is now Visit Rwanda on the left shoulder. But yes, and we know all about the ad campaign that is attached to that. So I guess first off, since you're wearing it, congratulations on starting the season the way that you were supposed to. You took care of business. You beat somebody you were supposed to in Coventry City, and it could have gotten a lot uglier than it did.
Well, it wasn't as ugly as watching Aston Villa play, but it was a pretty good afternoon. It was a pretty good afternoon to start the Premier League season. I was shocked, John, by the amount of widespread margins to start the season. Villa obviously, I mean, they get a red card, but all like 27 of the goals they concede were all before the red card somehow. Arsenal putting a couple past Coventry pretty early on. I thought, we had another 3-0 score line with some other team from London, and that kind of shocked me. I'm not going to lie. I figured opening weekend, it would be a little bit of like everyone's figuring out what they're doing, and that just means probably more goals or no goals. I guess we just got both in the same match.
Yes, you did. So since we're here, Hull shuts out Manchester United. That screaming you heard was Drew Dickinson. Hull getting 2 on the board, shutting out Manchester United. Everton shuts out Crystal Palace. Ipswich and Sunderland. That was actually one of the cooler matches of the weekend. Leeds and Nottingham Forest, 1 goal on the board there. Brentford told Spurs to go out back, choose your own stick, and come back inside with it. 3-0 Brentford at the G-Tech. Brighton put 4 on Villa, and Manchester City was down 1-0, and then they weren't. 2-1 win there for them in the first game for Enzo Maresca. And Newcastle and Liverpool traded haymakers. You figured it was going to be an emotional environment because of the celebration of Kevin Keegan. They get the early goal. Then Liverpool comes back, and then Newcastle is there, and then Liverpool scores at the death. DETH apostrophe exclamation point. And Lewis Hall obviously was none too keen on that particular call. And the PK is converted 2-2 your final there. Is that reffing down here material for you, sir?
No, because it's a penalty. I'm sorry, it was a foul. Like, I don't know what you want to happen there.
So yeah, it was 2-2. So when it came to anything else on the field of play, I do have the JT Marcinkowski red from LAG and CF Montreal. We do have to get into that because Devin Kerr and Nate McCady, 2 of our friends here at the network. Devin was kind of like, oh, so he was uh-ohing his way through that one. Did anything else in the Premier League stick out to you this past weekend?
Honestly, no.
It's a good thing, I guess.
I think it was. Again, we talked last week about the footballing standards and kind of the emphasis of refereeing points of emphasis. And I think we saw a little bit of that with VAR intervention. I don't think we had many VAR intervention opportunities. Obviously, every goal is checked for offside and stuff like that. That threshold is going to remain. We need to check to make sure they're offside. But I didn't think we had any real interventions. And we just talked about the Newcastle-Liverpool match. I think it's a foul, so I don't think it needed VAR intervention by any stretch. But I thought you saw overall a pretty good adherence to that idea of, we want to uphold, we want the call on the field to be the call, right? And kind of the way that, if you remember back when instant replay and video review started in American football, the goal was, can you disprove the call on the field, right? And so obviously in our world, we have the phrase clear and obvious error. And I think they're just trying to make that threshold like, was it clear and obvious? As opposed to, was it a little bit of a maybe possibly?
Yes. You're kind of like, instead of proving a negative, it literally was, instead of it reinforcing a positive, you're trying to prove a negative, basically, I guess.
And I do think that shift is important, John, because I think when you're saying, let's look for a mistake, as opposed to, can we find a reason to uphold the call? I do think you are going to get different outcomes of your investigation.
Yeah.
Look, we know this. If I'm looking for reasons that Atlanta United is still not going to make the playoffs, I can find them. But if I want to look for reasons, a positive that Atlanta United will make the playoffs, it's Adrian Gill. So, there are ways to go about this. If you look for the positives, you'll find the positives.
Okay, so let's go to the JT Marcinkowski from the red card that happened for LAG against CF Montreal. And this is, once again, it's Nate McCady and Devin Kerr on this particular call. So here is the red card second half. And here was how they went through it. But yeah, Devin Kerr and his uh-ohs. It's almost like when Carl Lewis was singing the anthem and he didn't quite hit the notes he was supposed to, and you hear the color guy on the basketball going, uh-oh. It's one of those moments. Here you go, Apple TV and Major League Soccer.
Lozano rises up to win the first header. Now it comes down to Petrasso. Into the channel for Owusu. Goalkeeper's coming out. There's contact. And now is this in the penalty area or out? The referee's reaching into his back pocket, and it's a red card.
But one, is he in an onside position when the ball is played? We'll bring it back. Watch here.
The two that are tangled up there as we await this free kick. Here it is. Sanchez couldn't get the dip on it.
And there you go. So to let everybody in on what happened there, pass down the left-hand side, JT Marcinkowski for LA Galaxy feels like, oh, I must make a play on this. And it's right there, like 17, 18, 19 yards, and it ended up being 19 yards out, and red card was brandished. Now that you had the chance to see it, what did you see?
Well, obviously this red card is going to be for Dogso, so we have to go through the D's of Dogso. And one of them that you have to take in consideration here that I don't necessarily think rises to it is defenders. Obviously, JT Marcinkowski is the last defender. He's the goalkeeper, and he is the last defender. But there were a couple other defenders in the area. And then we'll get into the next ones, right? Because we're talking about distance to goal. Well, obviously, this happens, I don't know, 3 inches outside the penalty area. So, I would say that's pretty close to goal. Direction of play, it isn't quite direct at goal. I think you are heading toward the goal line. I would not call this something, especially after the way the player is chasing this down. I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of a game with Atlanta United and LAFC and Mateus Bogish and Brad Gazan, but that's just me.
Right. It does. And so I think the distance to goal is the problem here. Now, the player, the attacker, is still fully in control of the ball. Like, I just feel like when you consider that this direction of play and the defenders that are still in the area, again, they're not necessarily like there are no other defenders behind Marcinkowski when the foul occurs, but there are defenders within 5 yards of both sides of the attack. I do have a little bit of an issue with this. Now, that said, this is very clearly a foul from Marcinkowski. It is outside the penalty area, so you are very able to give a red card for Dogso here.
Yeah.
Is this a case of probably a yellow card foul on top of the stopping a promising attack yellow card you would get? Maybe 1 + 1 = 2, and we're getting a red card for that as well. That's not exactly how we should be refereeing, but I can understand that a lot of these things are piling up against Marcinkowski, but I don't think this was necessarily Dogso in itself. I do have a slight issue, but again, VAR looked at this and thought it was at least not incorrect. And so I can understand why a red card was given, but I think with the tools we have, looking at the camera angle, I personally look at this and go, I don't know if this is fully meets the criteria of Dogso.
And remember, and this is in the collective remember. So for VAR to fix this, it has to be clear and obvious.
Yes.
And using those 3 words, I don't know if you can sit there in the booth and go, okay, there is a clear and obvious error here that is correctable to rescind the red card in this case.
Yeah, and you have to remember for the referee, they are looking at this in real time. You're looking at an attacker who has beaten the final defender, not the goalkeeper, but he is past the last defender. Like, right. I think that's fair to say. Now, again, I think that defender is still within the realm of in the play, but he has beaten the last defender. He is one-on-one with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper has recklessly come out. Again, this is a reckless challenge by
Aren't you JT Marcinkowski and your recklessness?
Yeah. I would argue that Marcinkowski is lucky that this wasn't a penalty kick, because if this is, I'm not joking, 6 inches farther down the field, it happens on at least on the line of the penalty area, and therefore it's a penalty kick. So, I think he's a little lucky in that regard. Maybe he's unlucky that it wasn't just a penalty kick, because he would have probably only received a yellow card for it. But I think from a clear and obvious standpoint, I don't think the referee is clearly and obviously incorrect. But I personally would not have given this a red card on the field, because I could have looked at two defenders inside the penalty area and said, you can't give a red card for Dogso here, but it is very clearly a reckless challenge and a stopping a promising attack challenge. So,
okay. There were a couple of things that just popped into my head. Would you not have brought it back to the I was going to say, would you not have brought it back to where the foul was beginning to be committed, which would have been outside the 18 in the first place?
I mean, you got to go with where the contact basically is. And I do think the contact occurs outside the penalty area, at least from what I can tell.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. The contact started there. And then the other element was, even if, and this goes back to Bogish v. Gazan, I feel like I just went People's Court or Law and Order or something. Could you not assume, and this is dangerous to do this, that as the offensive player is going down the inside left channel, and yes, he is behind the last defender, that he is still in a position to have an angle to create a shot?
Yeah, and that is valid, right? That's where I'm not going to fully say he's not direct to goal. The ball is not necessarily going directly toward goal, right? But he is, if he gets this ball without the foul, right, he is inside the penalty area, which is theoretically a really good goal scoring opportunity area, for some teams, not for others, but for some teams.
Yes.
I think actually I was listening to a preview, and like Aston Villa has scored the most goals outside the penalty area, but like their conversion rate inside the penalty area last season was like bottom half of the league.
Yikes.
So there are some times where you go, well, we're in the penalty area, maybe this isn't going to happen. But that is kind of the issue here, John, right? It's like I am looking at this a little bit as not just a referee, but as a player going, and as a goalkeeper. I'll look GK Union over here going, that's not really toward goal. But that doesn't mean it's not a goal scoring opportunity when the ball is going to be inside the penalty area, with I mean, at that point, again, a relatively good angle at a shot on goal. It's not like it's a 4-degree angle. Again, this is not a clearly and obviously not a red card. That's just where we're at, right? I have quibbles with it. I don't think it's fully Dogso, but like when you add everything together, you can go, well, yeah, this is probably a red card. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that there are, in situations like this, there are judgment calls to be made.
Correct.
And in this particular case, you have to walk it through the idea of, okay, this was a dangerous challenge by JT Marcinkowski, A. It happened outside the 18, and that is for VAR to help you with when it comes to your initial sight of, okay, I think this happened outside the 18. Yep. This was a dangerous challenge. And then this is, like I said, this is one universe that we're walking through here. So in one universe, it is JT Marcinkowski comes out. It's a dangerous challenge, A. It is a dangerous challenge outside the 18, B. Therefore, going through all of your letters of Dogso, okay, this, and this.
Dive, duck, dip, dive, and dodge of Dogso.
Right,
yes.
Correct. And so you end up with Rip Torn telling you about the importance of Dogso, and you end up
like if you're grading in a rubric, right? Yeah. And you go, okay, out of 5 points each.
Yeah.
Most of these are at 3 or more. Like that's just kind of where we're at. And when you look at that, you got to go, well, this is a red card. Unfortunately, when you go through it, you go, well, it's not fully Dogso, but it is a reckless challenge. And it is stopping a promising attack. And, all these things combined, you go, yeah, all this probably equals.
But don't you have to go 5 for 5 though? If you're looking at Dogso,
so no, you don't have to necessarily. Yes and no. Like again, it's not a 100% or nothing in the D's of Dogso necessarily. Now there are some, right? Like defenders is one, right? And again, I think for this one, he's very clearly beaten the final. I think it's the center back who's chasing after him. He's passed him.
Yeah.
He's one-on-one with the goalkeeper for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
Now, again, do I think that there are two defenders recovering well enough to possibly still be involved with this? Yes, that is what Bart looks at and sees, right?
That's $1, by the way, third person reference.
But is it not the last defender, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then we also look at, I think we had one, John, back in, now you had to go back with me, 2017.
Okay.
I think it was against Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Okay.
In Bobby Dodd.
Okay.
And I think Gressel is played through on goal.
Okay.
He's the final defender and a guy fouls and brings him down. But he's like 5 yards into the attacking half. Well, what do you mean? What distance is that to go? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these aren't 100% or nothing, because if you're 45, 50 yards from goal, but you're 1v1 and you get taken down, is that a goal scoring opportunity? I don't know. Right. We look at the one that I think is most infamous for me that I just think should have been a red card, but it didn't matter because we still beat them despite them setting an attendance record with 20,000 Atlanta fans there. But the game in Nashville that we don't really want to talk about because of the cursed field that's Titan Stadium there.
Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah.
Barco taking a shot on goal from 40 yards out with a goalkeeper who I don't know what he was doing at that point in time, and he just volleyball blocks it straight down, and we're going, how the heck is that not a red card?
Oh yeah.
Now I still very much believe that should have been a red card for like a number of reasons.
Yeah, was it?
Dogso doesn't necessarily have to be one of those.
Was that? Oh, was it Bendick?
No, that wasn't Bendick. I think it was still. Who was the guy they had before the new? I can't remember his name. It's the dude they've had until this year. Okay, they had basically the same goalkeeper up until this year when they got the new kid who probably will get a call up for September, October window. But
yeah,
that's to be talked about on this upcoming episode of Soccer for Us.
And that's part of what we'll talk about too. Yes.
Anyway, I'm just saying that it's not 100% or nothing. These are a little bit of criterion. And so again, if you're saying that all of them are above 50%, if all of them are above, probably for most of these 60, 70%.
Okay.
We're trying to officiate in a fair way. It's not fair to say, well, he wasn't 100% a goal scoring opportunity. Well, opportunity is subjective, unfortunately. And again, it's not goal scored. It's goal scoring opportunity. And it's kind of hard to say this wasn't denying a goal scoring opportunity.
Okay. Because that's what I was trying to,
but apparently volleyball blocking a shot from 45 yards.
Joe Willis.
Okay. Willis, that's who it was.
Yeah,
yes,
Joe Willis. Joe Willis basically, he comes out and he gets big.
Yeah.
And literally he's running feverishly and he like blocks it with his entire person and his hands that are like way up here.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. I don't understand how that's not a red card. I just don't. I don't. I just don't. But hey, look, Nashville better hope that they get us at home in the sprint season. Otherwise, their attendance numbers are going to be down next season.
Oof, yeah, and ice storms aplenty.
Don't worry, they'll get a USMNT or USWNT game where they half fill the stadium.
Yeah, and ticket prices.
Soccer City though,
$9 gazillion. You had mentioned just general behavior, and in a match like what we had yesterday, you had literally with Atlanta United. It's like, okay, there were a few calls that folks had umbrage with, and they were late, and it came from and they were a lack of calls basically. And so
there were two calls in particular that I thought were very late.
Yeah.
I don't think they were wrong, but they were very late.
Yeah. And the first half seemed to have been managed fairly well, but then in the second half, the rule book kind of went someplace and they couldn't find it. And then like whistles got lost, or like the little ball inside the whistle kind of got lost and you couldn't hear it if it was being used or anything like that. I
think the second half was consistent in itself.
Yeah,
I do not think it was necessarily consistent with the first half.
But shouldn't you be overly consistent over 90 minutes?
Yes and no, but the big answer is no, because game states change.
True.
Talk to Jason about that. He loves to talk about game state. Game states change.
We all do.
Now you should try to be consistent. I'm not arguing that. But one of the referees that I've worked with for a while, his name's Brian. He used to work out at Tucker, but now he's a regional ref because he's a good ref. And he kind of taught me this idea of as a referee, you have 3 phases of your game.
Okay.
You have the start of the game where you try to set the tone.
Right.
You have the middle of the game where you try to keep that tone.
Correct.
And you have the end of the game where the middle of the game where you're adjusting your tone to make sure that you're trying to get, okay, well, I've set the tone. Is this the tone that is actually needed for this match? Because I might come into a match, and go, we're going to be hard on this, this, and this, and we need to, okay. 15 minutes in, I might go, oh, this is not I came into this envisioning a game that is not playing out for one reason or another, right? Okay, well, I got to adjust. And then the final third is hopefully trying to keep with the adjustments you made, right? Okay. So basically we've said toward the end of that middle third, we have said, okay, this is the adjustment I'm making. This is my new standard tone, whatever you want to say.
This is your new milieu. Yeah.
Keeping it.
Yeah.
But again, the problem with the final third is what happens usually, John, after minute, 87.
Yeah. Yeah, things kind of go a little sideways.
Craziness, right? Yeah. So you do want to try to keep that standard, but understand that, things are going to go happy. So saying that, I think the problem was for Tori Penso was the game between the first and the second half was very different as well.
It was.
Because Atlanta United came out of the second half and said, we got this in the bag, forgetting that they're still not a very good soccer team and nothing is in the bag. You were up 2-0, great. But hey, man, Sporting Kansas City is terrible. They don't have a striker because they sold him, the guy that we probably should have bought last year.
Well,
it changed because Atlanta United came out with a slightly different posture. Sporting came out with a different posture. Things changed. I don't think there was anything particularly wrong with the calls she did or didn't make, because I thought there were a couple that I said, well, okay, if you're not going to call that, you didn't call that. Okay, fine. There's one where I think Moyemba trucked, hit stick someone on the edge of their penalty area as they're coming in. He wins the ball, I think.
I think he did. Yeah.
I think he did technically win the ball, but he kind of wins the ball and bulldozes through the guy.
Well, and that's the thing where
would I have called it a foul? Probably. I would have said, hey man, we can't just run through someone.
But in the first half, it should have been called a foul in whatever the behavior was. Then in the second half, if it's the same behavior that's exhibited, shouldn't you call it a foul then too? Because sometimes it's something happens in the first 45 and then all of a sudden you kind of let the game go off on its own and it turns into a color your own adventure handbook in the second 45. And the standard that you set in the first third and the second third, as you're describing, goes away for whatever reason in the final third.
Well, again, I don't think there was I watched a completely different game than everyone. I didn't think there was any real issues.
Okay. What did you see I played the Miguel Almiron Mosqueda. I thought Mosqueda, popped Miggy in the chops, and they were
the one that everyone's shouting for a penalty kick.
Yeah.
From my vantage point, when I was watching it, it looked like Mosquera wins the foot race to the spot of the ball, and they both are challenging for it. But Miggy is not bigger than Mosquera, and Mosquera being a larger volume of mass.
Yes, he is.
It's there, and Miggy is a smaller volume of mass, and then. Things,
how do you
I just didn't view that as a foul because to me, Mosquera got to the gained position on the ball right before Miggy did in that instance. And so therefore the coming together was more Miggy, his momentum still carrying him into him, not necessarily a foul on Mosquera. That was what I saw.
Okay. So then let me ask this: when it comes to larger individual, smaller individual, so if we just say someone Mosquera's size, defensive lineman, versus someone who is
he might be tight end size. He's pretty tall. He's a little more slight than a defensive lineman. Put him as that receiving end, and you might have a new Travis Kelce on your hand.
Get him at that H-back position for the Chiefs. When you're trying to gauge contact, veracity, all of those things with large individual, small individual.
Yeah.
How difficult is that to gauge?
So it's the same. I will say it's the same because I think to your point, you're saying, oh, Mascara got an elbow into Miggy's head. And you have to look at that and go, well, is that just you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just because Mascara's natural movement of
being 6'3",
taking his arms out a little bit to shield off the ball, brings his, again, is it natural? Is it undue? Because if it's this, then that's a problem.
Right.
But if it's just this, like a natural, like you're making yourself slightly bigger, and it just so happens that Miggy being all of 5, generously we'll say 5'9", it runs into his elbow. Like that's just kind of the problem. Is like, you have to look at what their body action is, not always what the other player is receiving, because this happens a lot of times when a big player is going up for a header,
right,
and a little player will stand on the ground. Sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't. It's more because we're looking at, did the big player interfere with the vertical space, the vertical position of the small player, right? Did you jump over them, or did you just jump up and the other player is just little?
Wow, principles of verticality. I didn't know that you guys
principles of verticality.
I didn't know if I didn't know.
Well, so I will say I do, and when I'm mentoring, I try to get people to look at it from that space because, I'll just say this: a lot of the referee training that we're getting from U.S. Soccer is good, but it's still influenced by IFAB and others who, to be blunt, don't have the breadth of sports vision that Americans have. It is easy to explain to an American the idea of a vertical space and verticality in the realm of like, hey, you know how in basketball, when you're going for a box out, your job is to get to that spot first. Most Americans, especially a lot of the referees I work with, can understand that concept. You understand that concept, John. You've watched basketball. In soccer, a lot of these instructors coming from the instructions that are coming from that place, the European peninsula.
Yes.
They don't have necessarily that viewpoint because they are so soccer minded.
Yeah.
And so it just is better to sometimes on our side of the pond, where we have a more variety of sports culture, to be able to explain things in a slightly better way. I mean, I always make the when we're talking about ball in and out of play, baseball is the best example to soccer. Did that ball? Did you see chalk? Well, it's fair, right? Same as soccer. If it's in perpetuity, all the way up,
did it cross the plane?
Yeah, this is not basketball. This is not, it's not basketball. In tennis, if that ball is still catching the white line, it's in.
Yeah.
But I try to use other sports when I'm teaching, because a lot of kids have a better understanding. And especially when you're watching basketball on television, you talk about that vertical positioning a lot. And we still have that in soccer. We truly do, right? My vertical positioning and the vertical positioning of the ball, especially, right? That area around the ball is important, because if I am first to the positioning of the ball, if I'm first to the spot of the ball, but I may not necessarily touch the ball, but I am gaining the position between whoever I'm jostling with and the ball. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm in possession of the ball, but I am positioned myself in a better spot. That's like the biggest number one thing I teach kids when I'm talking about defending. You got to get yourself in between the ball and the player, whoever you're going against. Because once you've done that, you have established position. You can then establish possession, and you're more likely to get the foul called.
Very Paulo Diaz of you in the 43rd minute from earlier, or from yesterday.
Elias Baez didn't do. He gained position, but then just fell down, I think, later in the second half. And then he grabs the ball, and Torre's like, no, absolutely not. Torre Penso's like, that wasn't a foul. You fell, which it wasn't a foul. Baez just kind of fell because we were trying to kill the game off. I get it. And then he grabs the ball. And glad we didn't get a foul call there. I'm being truthful, because I think a lot of times we fall into this trap, John, where a player falls and grabs the ball and we go, well, crap, then I gotta call something. And you tend to default. The problem was for Baez, he did it at midfield, not like in the corner, which is where most of the time it happens. got to be a little smarter. But that's a good example of just because you have that position doesn't mean you're always going to get a foul. But like, he did a good job of getting positioning, and most of the time you're going to get that call, just not when you're very obviously flopping.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Hey, he learned it from his captain and the new guy we signed. So I mean, if we're
there you go. New Soccer for USPOD. I heard that come out of your mouth.
So we're going to record tonight. We're talking about John, the rumor, and we're going to assess the veracity of the actual rumor and plan.
Yes,
but the rumor that UEFA and CONCACAF are possibly considering the Nations League merger.
Yeah,
we're going to discuss a little bit of the veracity, the plausibility, and if it actually could happen. Probably not. About being real honest.
But remember,
that's what we're going to talk about.
But remember, these days, as you say, it is all about positioning before you get possession.
And that is what we will be discussing on our recording tonight. We'll also be talking about the other discussion topic online right now, which is some people are well, I don't want to give away my position, but I think you'll understand.
No.
Some people are very much in we just need to bring in all the young kids into camp in September. And I'm like, we're building toward 2030, but how do you juggle the line or straddle the line of I think this kid is going to be good enough for 2030 versus, but are they actually ready for international play? Because we're not playing pushovers, and like, I don't know if I want to send, no offense to him, but do we need to put out Adri Mehmeti against Mexico in Phoenix? Like, is that a good idea?
Okay.
I don't know. Kevin, I do think should start against Mexico for the sole purpose of.
Okay, I got to talk to you about this before we go.
Oh, let's do it.
We haven't talked.
I have been waiting to talk about this particular instance because this was on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, this was Messi and Friends and Philadelphia, and I'm glad that we.
Hold on, John. Let me get a sip of coffee.
Here we go. All right, so Bart's going to get caffeinated here. So the situation was, Quinn Sullivan is driving inside the 18 over by the far edge, and Yannick Bright upends him, and I think it was basically a glorified hip check. And so Yannick Bright, so he knocks him off his pins. So then Quinn Sullivan is on his butt, and his legs are in the air. Ian Frey does the Allen Iverson step over thing where you're trying to step over your opponent. In the middle of it, Quinn Sullivan decides, you know what, I'm taking umbrage with this, and decides to spear Ian Frey, and then all hell breaks loose. And of course, and this was what we got into the day after. One of the first people that you see in a Philadelphia Union uniform come over is young Cavan. And Cavan wants a piece of anybody and everybody because no one messes with my older brother. Understandable. And under normal circumstances, playground. Yeah, I get it. And here, that's the Philadelphia Union Police, by the way. So Cavan comes into the mix, lays his hands on Yannick Bright, basically like punch, shove, and whatever. And I think Yannick Bright tried to face wash as a part of the whole thing. And as a part of all of this coming together, they got really nasty. And you end up with a red card for young Cavan that is wiped off the books. And it was very Jordan Rules-esque that you have the 16-year-old get a wipeout of a red card. Please proceed.
I'm trying to bring up another topic that I want to talk about with you, John, because I forgot to send this to you over the weekend. But do I think Cavan deserved a red card in the moment? Probably not. I think Yannick Bright very clearly throws a punch, like very clearly, which, people are like, why are you throwing a punch at a 16-year-old? Brother, you're not thinking about that. No, the homeboy is on the field. Like that we ain't thinking about how old this kid is as he's coming at me like that. I'm sorry. You're just not like you're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
But I think Bright deserved a red card for sure. I think everyone else involved probably deserved just a yellow card.
Okay.
But I don't think Cavan's red card was necessarily to the mistake of rescinding it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't think he deserved a red card, but I also see why he was given a red card. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because he was mixing it up after.
I mean,
yeah.
You called it a shove punch type thing, and I don't disagree. It wasn't like he fully closed fist or even open hand tried to swipe at
Yannick Bright's response was worse, but nevertheless,
Yes.
you responded in that way, in that scrum, and you
100%
accelerated the action instead of leaving it alone and perhaps diffusing the situation. I think that Kevin's presence elevated the emotion in that group, and it could have gone sideways. And this isn't the first time that he has done something like this year. I'm not denying that Kevin Sullivan is massively talented, but there are times where he has to learn as he is getting older to cool it.
You know, he needs to talk to Trinity Rodman about this. And I mean that sincerely, because Trent has talked about this. I don't know if you remember, John, after the Brazil.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm using this word very lightly.
Sure.
Friendly.
Yeah.
Where we had, I don't know,
11,
almost 20 yellow cards given out between 2 matches and multiple red cards.
Yes.
Trent posted a joke saying like, and I wasn't one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And while that was somewhat of a joke, she did talk about, I forget whose podcast it was. I want to say it was with Kylie Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about the need for her and what her coaches, both at DC and then also Emma on the U.S. national team, have told her about, like, you have a personality of being a little bit of an antagonist, of a pest, of an instigator, right? And that's good. That works for her because it kind of puts a chip on her shoulder and makes her want to perform it. Like that's one thing, but knowing where that line is. And I think Kevin at 16, which 16, who amongst us hasn't been a little bit of a poop head at 16?
Yeah. A poop head, please.
Needed, I think she learned or talked about how she needed to learn how to control herself and be in control of herself.
Yeah.
Because you can do these things that pester other teams, right? Look at Argentina during the World Cup. Unfortunately, got to a point in the final when things weren't going their way that they started getting bothered by the things they were also doing. That it got out of the control of the locus of control, moved from inside of them to the game as a whole. And Trent talked about how she just had to understand what boundaries are, because you got to be on the field. And in these big international tournaments, like, a World Cup that's coming up next summer,
I mean,
there are way more strict yellow card accumulation rules. And if you get 2 in the group stage and you're out for the 3rd group stage game, or if you get 2 during the group stage and maybe 1 and 3, and then you're out for the round of 16, well, that hurts your team, right? And you don't want silly things like this to hurt yourself and your team in a big tournament. So Kevin needs to learn that. I 100% agree, which is why, again, I'm saying I don't think he deserved to have the red card rescinded. Like, was it a fully red card in the moment? Probably not. But we're also looking at this, not the referee right there trying to break up and stop what could be a potential foul or potential, like, real mass confrontation. So again, we're trying to be fair here. And if you're going to give Yannick Bright a red card, it's not fair to not give Kevin anything. But if you're going to give him a red card, it kind of feels fair to give Kevin a red card at the same time too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's equal action, and therefore you have to distribute equally. Yeah.
Just throwing a punch is a red card. I agree with that.
Yeah.
There are other red card offenses for violent conduct that are not necessarily just throwing a punch. You know, I mean, violent conduct is a lot of things. We have some laid out in IFAB in the laws of the game, but like the red card is violent conduct. We have examples.
Yeah.
Spitting, punching,
yeah,
kicking with excessive force, but like violent conduct isn't necessarily just all of those 3 things. There are other things that violent conduct can be. So I don't know. I thought it was funny that he got the red card for not throwing a punch, but I'm going, well, you kind of
that you
undeserved.
you escalated the situation by charging the pile and interacting, even though Yannick Bright, did answer in the manner that he did.
And then, later in the match, Messi gets a yellow card for the other team because he hits them. So, great for them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's where we are.
One more thing I wanted to talk about, John, and I'm really sorry. I should have said this to you beforehand.
No, it's all good.
We had in the championship a goal scored by a game-winning goal, I think, scored by West Bromwich Albion against Norwich City with the hand.
Oh,
did you see this?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not. Hang on. So let me go on the Twitters here. Hang on. West Brom Norwich.
How it scored is not important. It's very clearly scored with the hand when you look at it from replay. But the referees, because we do not have video assistant referees in the VAR review process in the championship, referees didn't see it, and therefore goal stands. It has since been adjudged by the disciplinary committee of the EFL, I guess, a championship or the
EFL,
the
FA, all
I don't know. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That player is now suspended for deceiving the referees.
Successful deception of match officials. Auna Hegebo 2-game suspension.
I despise this. One, it's very British of them because they're just obviously very scarred from a certain World Cup where they lost because they weren't very talented and another team was more talented than they were.
Yeah.
Pick one, but very clearly a World Cup where a hand was used to score a goal that was very obviously not valid. But John, I don't know. It's very clearly a handball, right? I think we get this. He uses a hand to score.
Yeah.
None of the referees see it.
Yeah.
Is that the player's fault?
No. That's on them.
And I get why I'm not blaming the referees here because the AR can't see it because of the positioning that he has in relation to. I mean, there's a whole player in front of the ball. He can't see that the hand was used to score the goal.
Yeah.
The center referee probably couldn't either because of a couple of reasons. It just is hard to see, and it's not like he put his hand way out here. It was within the realm of his body, right? I don't think it was super outstretched. I have a real problem with this because
you're relitigating at this point.
You are very much relitigating, and
wow.
If you do not have the processes in your league to look at this during the game, but you have the processes to look at this after the game and go, well, that's just a no. You can't do that. But this is not the point of disco. Disco is for, we didn't catch that he threw a punch.
Yeah.
We didn't catch that he said bad words to a player. Not, he scored with his hand.
I mean,
what?
Look, no.
I want to know in the chat if y'all have seen this and what y'all think, because to me, this is the ultimate of this. I hate making slippery slope arguments, John, but this is slippery slope in my opinion.
Yeah. So here is, let me see if I can. All right. So I've found the short version and so I've found the short version and I'm going to post the link in the chat because let's see. All right. So that goes there. And I'm going to get rid of the publish part. But yeah, because I found it. So there you go.
I meant to send this to you over the weekend, and I'm really sorry.
No worries. That's perfectly fine. All right. So that win by West Brom. So West Brom is, and George Campbell's West Brom, by the way.
George Campbell, captain of West Brom.
You got it.
Not good enough to play for Atlanta United, though.
Well, careful there, cowboy. All right. So it was the matchup against Norwich. And so it was the game-winning goal against Norwich where Hegebo gets credit for it it was the first goal of the two. So Hegebo scores in the 75th minute. Jimmy Morgan scores 12 minutes later. They're up 2-0. Norwich scores in the 90th to make it 2-1 final. But it's the first goal in the sequence. Otherwise, it would have been. So, I mean, honestly, what you've done, you've opened Pandora's box here because if you then what you've done, you've suspended Hegebo, and Hegebo, by the way, said, no, I didn't do it in the commission. But, you've got to go in and sit there and say, well, no, I didn't. I mean, because you can't own up to it.
Yeah.
You can't own up. It's like a moving violation. You go to traffic court, no, I didn't do it. And the cop's not here. What would you like for me to do? Please dismiss the charge, Your Honor. Okay. It's not like that. Hegebo scores this first goal. And if, in theory, once again, if we play this out to its ending, it's a 1-1 draw. Then Norwich ends up getting their first point of the season. West Brom only gets their first point of the season. Does this 2 points for West Brom or the 1 point for Norwich make a difference by the end of the season? Because
probably. Let's be real honest. Between West Brom and Norwich, they're teams that I think are reasonably expected to be somewhat in the relegation hunt. I think that's fair.
And now that you've expanded the playoff, if it's now 8, I think, instead of 6, but if you are just outside of that playoff window, if either of these teams is just outside that top 8 and it's a point or it's goal difference or something, and you can work your way back to this moment where either Norwich or Norwich feels like they should have gotten a point, West Brom feels that they should have kept their 3 or, don't get it minimized by 2 points. Do those points in flux make a difference chasing after the 8 spot at the end of the season?
I'm not arguing if this affects the game affects the standing.
But what this does though, what this does is open that door to and go, well, we can't replay the game from the 75th minute.
What if someone scores from an offside position? Is that not intentionally deceiving a match referee?
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The referee didn't catch it.
Just because of that phrase, now carries itself to VAR, and it carries itself to the FA.
There was a goal scored in League One, I think, this weekend. Jamal Chare goal, where the player intentionally grabbed some water after missing a shot. Goalkeeper has it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit later in the game, I think, so he's kind of wasting time. Puts the ball down, and the player comes from back off. Is that not deception? It's not like against the rules of the game, the deception, right? But like, what are we talking about? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
True.
Who amongst us hasn't put their spoiler up a little bit higher than they should?
But
maybe that's the I'm not a NASCAR fan, but I grew up too much with it to not. You know what I mean?
But what the FA has done here.
This is an insane precedent, John. Insane. And to me, wholly without outside of the scope of what disciplinary committees are meant to do.
Yeah, and like I said, you can't play the game over from the 75th minute. You can't do that, because that's when this happened, and it was the first goal of the match in a 2-1 win by the team that scored first. I mean, literally, you have created such a headache that now everyone since you've set this precedent, now everyone in the EFL, if you have a moment like this, they're going to sit there and scream and want it to be relitigated again. It's like, well, no, this happened, and this shouldn't have happened.
What if, John, we have an incident later in the season?
This is so dumb.
In which a player off a corner kick heads the ball toward goal.
Mm-hmm.
That hits their forearm and then goes in. But neither the referee nor the assistant referee can see that, right? In the laws of the game, that is not allowed, right? You cannot have a ball go directly from your arm, no matter how intentional, into the goal. We all, we know that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So where is the line between intentionally deceiving match officials?
I mean, this is bad. This is
I don't like it.
This is, what are you doing? I mean, the FA obviously wanted to stick its nose into it, but what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And Philippe Clement, there's a 2-minute and 12-second video, a 2-minute and 17-second video, by the way, Philippe Clement, the manager of Norwich, listing every single one of the 81 countries that used VAR after that loss. He literally ran off.
Well, and that's the thing. I fully understand Norwich being upset. No one's taking that away. I think the championship needs to, especially because they have TV. They got TV cameras.
Mm-hmm.
The TVs, between championship and League One, they got enough TVs. I think they need to look at the new provisions that IFAB has set forth for video support. The lesser version of VAR. I think we've trialed this at U17 World Cups where you can challenge something. But then they also have, basically that's what it is, right? You can challenge or request a review. They probably won't call it a challenge because that's too American. And, in this case, Norwich should have, because we have video cameras that clearly show that he did it. And that's the thing. I'm not saying it's not a red card or not a handball like that. It's very clearly he scores with his hand.
Mm-hmm.
We can all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that Norwich feels unjustly hurt by this. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have some ability within the match to want. I mean, again, we're looking at this on CBS and HD.
Mm-hmm.
If I can see this, however many miles away I am from Norwich, which is a long way away.
Yeah, it's a few. Mm-hmm.
They should, in the stadium or somewhere back in a central location, be able to review this, right? Without full VAR technology.
Wow.
And but
mm-hmm.
John,
yes,
the Brits always get it right.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that is absolutely true. Yes, they do.
I don't know. Sorry, this was the most controversial thing I think I saw all weekend. I definitely forgot to send it to you because this to me is this goes beyond refereeing. This is about, y'all are all out here talking about the spirit of the game, the soul of the game. Because Gianni Infantino
this is dangerous. This is a dangerous precedent here. You're gonna get so much litigation now. Everything's gonna want. You're gonna have so many people in these instances where ire is drawn. They're going to want everything relitigated, redrawn. It's just you've.
Are we going to
down the process?
Yeah. Are we litigating every yellow card given because he didn't actually make a lot of contact and therefore he dove because he it's like again we've talked about this. Embellishment and simulation are two very different things. And just because you embellish a foul doesn't mean it's not a foul.
Yeah.
But now we're going to get people who probably say, well, that wasn't really a yellow card. He just flopped.
Wow.
Okay, well, he still fouled him. I don't know. Slippery slope arguments are logical fallacies, but this one feels very much, John, like a slippery slope.
Oh, this is Slip and Slide brought to you by Hasbro, no doubt. So you got this to get into as well. So the link exists. Philippe Clement going 2 minutes and 17 seconds, listing 81 countries with VAR. Enjoy your taping. Oh my God.
I will, John, because Atlanta United has won 3 in a row.
Correct.
And look like a team that knows how to beat teams who are also not very good at soccer.
Well, but hey, look, like I said, take care of your own business. That's what
I'm not saying it's not a good thing.
Good first steps. Look,
we play Charlotte this Saturday. We'll see if they're.
And Charlotte is traditionally this season not very good on the road, and Dean Smith likes to run players out there.
But Lord knows they know how to beat us on the road.
Well,
so we'll see.
There you go. Enjoy your taping, SoccerForUSPod, and thank you for opening Pandora's box for all of us in the EFL Championship at the FA.
Blame the FA for that.
No doubt. We'll see you soon, my friend.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. There goes Bart Keeler. Wow, that was a shock. I did not know that. I did not know that. All right. So as promised here, real quick, because we've got to get into a couple different things. So here is the audio adjusted. So let me adjust the audio real quick. So while I'm playing Fafa Pico, I'm going to adjust the audio on Cooper Sanchez, and you listen to Cooper actually where you can hear him. So here's Fafa.
Crazy second half, Fafa. How difficult was this one in the second half?
Yeah, it was definitely a nail biter at the end, but I think that over the last 3 games we've seen ourselves in different scenarios each game, going up, being down, and then going up, and then them kind of trying to catch up, and we've seen ourselves close out games now, and that's huge for us. Obviously, we want to now put ourselves in a zone where we're up 2-0 and then search for that third goal and really close teams out. So we know we can do it, but it's, for now we're happy with the last 3 games, earning 9 points, and we want to keep pushing for that.
Something I might have been reaching for on the broadcast. I said that I don't think you have these 3 results the way that you do if you don't go through what you did in Philadelphia. How much of a learning lesson was that for what you have happened today?
Yeah, it was painful. Obviously, going 1 man down, that was obviously tough, but we still scored 2 goals. And regardless, there's no excuse. After you go up 2 goals, you need to find a way to close out games. And that's simply a mentality thing and a psychological thing. So I think now that we are closing it down, we're realizing that we can believe in ourselves. And I think everybody's kind of just bought in, and we know now that we can do that.
With the attack, especially with the play out wide, it seems like the more you guys get Elias as well as Tomas involved, things really start to click. How important have they been, especially in stretching and getting more options in the attack?
Yeah, obviously we want to get them as involved as possible, especially with how narrow we can be sometimes. And then a lot of times I'd naturally like to go wide, but if those guys are high and wide, I try to be in the box and be an end result for them. But it's very important for us that they get up and down. We know it's a lot of work for them, so we try to help them out defensively so that it's not as strenuous on them. But at the end of the day, that's what we're all here to do this together, defensively, offensively. So as high as they can get and as much as we need to drop in and help them, we're going to do it.
Take the midweek off, and we'll see you Saturday.
Let's go.
And Fafa Pico in dire need of some traditional medicinal stroke coat tea. Okay, here's Cooper Sanchez fixed. Fix the audio on Cooper.
Yep, rolling.
All right. Big win at home, Cooper. Just talk me a little bit about how difficult that second half was.
Yeah, obviously it's tough. I think 2-0 and, football in general, as it's known, is the hardest lead to, keep. Obviously they get a goal, but I thought we stuck it out and ultimately got the 3 points, and that's the goal. So
this week, it feels like the confidence of this team is flying high right now. Just looking at the types of passes that you and Adrian and Tristan are attempting, it feels like there's just more confidence in the group. Are you guys feeling that in training and in games?
Yeah, obviously that comes with, the wins, but also just the coaching staff and the players around us putting trust in us in our abilities to do that, to get them the ball and to get them in, goal-scoring opportunities, because that's where they're best at, like guys like Miggy and Alexi and Fafa. So that's where we want to get them.
How has Adrian helped in the midfield?
A lot. No, it's been great playing with him. He does a lot of dirty work as well as I do, so it's good to have someone with me doing that. I think all 3 of us in midfield do that, and that's why we're ultimately pulling wins together.
With the offense also clicking, it feels like, especially with the way the team played in the first and a little bit in the second too, playing with that confidence, how important has it been to get those goals going to help the team going forward?
Yeah, I think it's really important to get the goals early. Obviously, the last couple of games we've gotten scored on early against Red Bulls in the first 5 minutes, and that was a different type of game to come back and win that 1-1. But to get goals early and kind of see out the result like we did today was a great thing for the team and the club in general.
And big signing today. You get the opportunity for Brill to be introduced to the fans. Did you guys get a chance to chat?
Yeah, a little bit. We all said hi to him in the locker room today, so he looks like a great guy, and yeah, it would be a great addition to the squad.
All right, we're waiting on the P1 visa and the approval of the international transfer certificate with Brel Embolo, and we'll see when he's able to slot in. Obviously, we're still waiting on Mauro as well and his P1 visa. So 2 additions looking like they're getting pretty close for Atlanta United. Tomorrow, obviously, we'll get into the 2s. We'll see what part of the planet Casey White is on, and we will catch up with her about college. We'll catch up with her about pro. And tonight, something to keep an eye on, Tuskegee has a home game, and we will be keeping an eye on that, and we'll see if we can effort some coaches now that things are continuing to move forward with Tuskegee in their first season when it comes to their soccer programs. So let's see. So today, where is it? I thought it was today. 24th. Yes, Faulkner at 5:30 Central Time. So that is today. Trying to see if I can find the schedule. Where's my schedule? I can get a harumph out of you. Okay, so It is today on the schedule. So men's soccer, after what happened with AUM, it is at Tuskegee, 6:30 Eastern time against Faulkner tonight, and we will hopefully we're going to effort some coaches, and we'll see if we can catch up with our friends from Tuskegee on a fairly regular basis and find out about what it's like here in season number 1 for the Tuskegee program as they are launching their soccer program in collegiate athletics. Okay. All right. So Atlanta United 2 coverage will be tomorrow. Before we get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, here's your college mashup, your Monday college mashup. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4 matchups that happened on Sunday, all in one place, courtesy of our friends at ESPN Plus. Once again, can't thank them enough for helping us out with everything that has to do with college. And of course, I don't load that in either. Goodness gracious, John. It's like you do things and then it's like all of a sudden you're not hitting the right buttons and it's like they're not showing up in the rundown. Or maybe they just don't show up in the rundown and they disappear. All right, here's your college mashup from Sunday. Once again, courtesy of our friends at ESPN Plus. You're going to hear Mercer and UNF, Milwaukee and Georgia. Familiar voice on the play-by-play for that one. Georgia Southern, UNC Wilmington, South Carolina State, and Mercer. Here we go.
Nezianya scores. A dream start for Mercer on the road. First career goal for Chris Nezianya.
Wow, this has really changed things now for North Florida. A man down, a goal down. Not a good spot to be in.
By the Panthers, Towns collects it. Sent back through Hamano. Hamano with the right foot sends it in. Hamano! Continuing what she started Thursday, finds the opening goal for the Georgia Bulldogs, 1-0, and it's Hanuka Hamano, the senior, gets it done early. On the right side into the 18, Georgia sends in the cross, loose ball into the back of the net. Maya Wolford comes into the match, is able to collect on a loose ball in the 18, slots it home, finds the second goal for the Georgia Bulldogs. Pulls it back, Manuel. On the right, sends back in the cross, skips through. Pedersen off of the post, sends it back in. Wolford looks for the second. Pedersen's ball is off of the post, but falls right to the feet of Maya Wolford, and she slots it home. Her second in the afternoon. Third goal for the Georgia Bulldogs. They take the 3-0 lead over the Milwaukee Panthers.
Wilson scores! Kendall Wilson, top left corner of the box, and Georgia Southern with a 1-0 lead.
Forces the foul, so now Mercer still stays in control.
Long shot on and in! Mercer on the board with a bomb for the Bears.
Mercer decisive as a squad here in this game, and they've been willing to pick out passes and fire. That one over the top for Giddings. You want a better attempt at it from your goalie. She's trying to bump it over the top, just didn't get enough of it. But credit to Mercer. It's a rocket of a shot. It's a hard one to deal with. Headed straight into the top bin, and the Bears cash in about 10 minutes in.
Another pass trying to catch it off and in! A squeaker off the crossbar and down. Bears 2, Bulldogs nothing. The pass was great. The goal was even better. 3-0 Mercer here in the second half. Borey with a chance off the right foot and in! It's a goal for Zibby Michelson. The pass was great. The goal was even better. 3-0 Mercer here in the second half. Shot in and goal. And the Bears picking it up. Set piece ran perfectly. Another goal for Mercer. 4-0. The dominance continuing here on a Sunday afternoon.
So around the board, Mercer gets a 1-1 draw with North Florida. Nezianya gets the penalty at 8:01, first collegiate goal. Penalty for North Florida with about 30 minutes to go. And North Florida was, once again, Tyler Prebenda was sent off in the 9th minute for a deliberate handball. Found out about that this morning. So Mercer hosts UNC Wilmington later on this week. Kennesaw State knocked off Alabama State 5-0. Julia Balkin gets 2 goals and 2 assists in Montgomery. Most points for a Kennesaw State player in a single match since Macy Rainwater had 6 in October of 2021. Laura Kennedy scored twice. Millian Bertha got the first point of her college career on an assist. And Kennesaw State hosting Auburn on Thursday. Mercer, once again, 8-0 over South Carolina State. Zibby Michelson got a hat trick in under 7 minutes. And Ashley Gilbert, Michelson, and Emily Rutkowski scored their first career goals in the 8-0 win. Bachman set up 4 of the 8 for a career high. Olivia Borey gets a pair of her own to lead the team with 4 goals on the season, largest margin of victory since a win over Barry 9-0 back in 24. Georgia State beat Wofford 3-0 at home. Aaliyah Fadul gets twice in the first 8 minutes. Sanaya Tucker adds a third in the second half. Ran their record to a home record to 2-0, 3-0 over Wofford. Outshooting Wofford 32-6. Alondra Iriarte 2 saves for the shutout, 2-2. They travel to Auburn, and they will play on Sunday. Georgia is at number 15 TCU on Thursday, knocking off Milwaukee 3-0 on Senior Day. You heard Hanoka Hamano getting the scoring going. Maya Wolford scoring twice, 40 minutes apart. And it was 9 seniors that were honored for head coach Kadani McAlpine and their win over Milwaukee. Tomorrow, once again, we'll talk about the twos, and we'll have those conversations with you. Big win over Orlando City B. Every win is big. Next matchup is Friday down in Fort Lauderdale against Inter Miami CF2. Once again, you got to have it to keep the beat, but we'll get bigger into MLS Next Pro tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that. So once again, Seattle finalizing a deal on Dejan Joveljic. Esther Gonzalez is joining Alcadzia after departing from Gotham. Edward Lewin goes from St. Louis City to San Jose, sending $425,000 in allocation money plus up to $500,000 more in add-ons back to St. Louis. Lewin was looking for answers about long-term contracts in St. Louis, and they weren't going to give him those answers, and so he just decided it's like, okay, look, this isn't happening, so we got to figure something out. And so it now appears that Lewin will be in San Jose, so once again, not making his season debut until April. And so now it looks like Edward Lewin goes from St. Louis to San Jose. Ashley Sanchez, 17th minute, second half stoppage time penalty. North Carolina Courage over Boston Legacy in Cary, and 13 goals this season for Ashley Sanchez. Rose Lavelle suffers a head injury in Gotham's draw, substituted in the first half of the goalless draw with Angel City, replaced by Mandy Freeman. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on that with Rose Lavelle and the NWSL. So we'll keep an eye on that too. Trying to see if there's anything else that I missed. I don't think I have anything that I missed that I have written down that I was going to put in the show. So let's get you into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo part. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Once again, that's brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It is it helps us out, helps you out, and helps them out when it comes to looking at all of the action that's going on in South America. Serie A, Bologna, and Lazio, 12:30 on CBS Sports Network. League we don't talk about has a match at 2 o'clock on FS2. Fulham and Chelsea from Craven Cottage is at 3. ESPN Deportes doubleheader in La Liga, 1:30 and 3:30. Fox Deportes doubleheader in the league we don't talk about. Universo simulcasting both the Serie A match and the Premier League match. Golazo Network has Roma and Fiorentina at 2:45. ESPN Plus has La Liga doubleheader. Fox Soccer Plus has your league we don't talk about. Tacoma Defiant Sporting Kansas City 2. That's at 10 o'clock. That's on OneFootball, MLSNextPro.com, and the Major League Soccer YouTube channel. Paramount Plus has your Serie A doubleheader. Peacock has a Serie A doubleheader. Tubi has Ligue 2, Reims, and Annecy at 2:45. With our friends at Fanatis, you get TVV out of Venezuela, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get TIC out of Argentina, which means you get Copa Argentina. You get ties to Tigo Sports and to CATV, which means you get a lot of the A and B divisions in a lot of the countries in Central and South America. You also get links to Nuestra Tele, and you also get all the BNs. And speaking of BN, it's being reported by The Athletic that Kaylin Kyle is going to be the new lead host for BN's English language football coverage. So congrats to Kaylin Kyle for the apparently she's replacing Richard Keys. So Kaylin Kyle looks like she's heading over to BN. And, obviously wishing nothing but the best for her when it comes to this new step in her career. So that is that's the news of BN. With the BNs, you get the Portuguese League, the French League, the Turkish League, the Polish League. You get everything in Africa, Middle East, North Africa. You get AFCON, WAFCON, Champions League, all of the age qualifiers for the age-appropriate World Cup competitions, all that stuff on all the BNs and all of their other programming as well. Libertadores, Sudamericana, you get that. You get Argentina, you get the LPF. And remember, tonight, 2 more matches left in Picks of the Week for this week. We'll talk about it at the tail end of the show tomorrow. 3 o'clock in Argentina in the Primera Nacional, and 9 o'clock in Panama in their LPF. That is what is going on tonight. So college soccer this week. Let's see when that grid starts. And they have yet to adjust it to this week's worth of programming. They have a lot of stuff going on the 23rd and 24th. I am literally scrolling down all the way to the bottom of the page. They do not have the updated look as to what the college schedule is going to be. But once again, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it by our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. Now, getting you into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo part of a couple of weeks left in the window, and we'll see where folks are aiming as they are moving their way forward. So let me see if there's anything that I missed. The time of the twos on Friday. It is a night game in Fort Lauderdale at the Erector Set. So let me check it really quickly. I think it's a 7 o'clocker in Fort Lauderdale. Yes. So at the Erector Set, or listed as Inter Miami CF Stadium. So 7:03 kick in Fort Lauderdale at the Erector Set. Atlanta United 2 at Inter Miami CF 2. And then you have the one home match left, and that is on September the 8th as the Coy Wolves of Connecticut United make their way to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground for a 2 o'clock kick on September the 8th. But Fort Lauderdale, Erector Set on Friday night. It is Inter Miami CF 2, Messi and Friends 2 at the Erector Set on the 28th. 7:03 kick. Pregame at 6:30, and kick will be at 7 o'clock on the network. So we'll talk about what happened with the 5-1 win for Atlanta United 2. We'll talk about that tomorrow as a part of tomorrow's programming, looking at the rest of the week that happened in Major League Soccer, getting into all of that. Plus, remember, Leagues Cup kicks back in tomorrow night as well. So we'll go over those matchups too and get everything rolling on a very busy Tuesday. So getting into what is being looked at here in transfer news and or talk. So here's what we got. Manchester City ready to meet Chelsea's £120 million asking price for Enzo Fernandez, according to Football Insider. Top target for Enzo Maresca, wants to build the midfield after Rodri and Tiani Reinders have departed, so keep an eye on that. Al Hilal pursuing a deal to sign Gabriel Martinelli. According to The Athletic and David Ornstein, Arsenal want a fee in a region of £60 million. Martinelli's open to the move after turning down interest from Turkey. Al Hilal plotting a double as they are chasing after Ollie Watkins as well. Lille forward Matias Fernandez-Pardo on the radar of Arsenal, according to Foot Mercato. Joined Lille from Antwerp in 24. Atletico de Madrid, Leipzig also interested. Offers around €40 million have been rejected this summer. Lille's asking price is in the neighborhood of €70 million to sign the Belgian international. Newcastle making big progress in their pursuit of Nico Gonzalez, £50 million, according to Fabrizio Romano. Club-to-club agreement almost in place. Talks ongoing with his reps. Joined Manchester City in January 25 for around £50 million from Porto, 36 times in the Premier League under contract through June of 29. Villa still in negotiations with Southampton over a deal for defender Taylor Harwood-Bellis, according to Sky Germany. Southampton rejected a latest offer worth £20 million plus $4 million in add-ons. Growing confidence, the clubs are moving closer to an agreement. Villa targeting a replacement for Ezri Konsa, who joined Arsenal for $51 million. United also monitoring Alejandro Balda's situation at Barcelona ahead of a potential move before the deadline. They're in the market for a new left back, inquired about Lewis Hall earlier in the summer. Club sources are playing down the chances of securing Balda. Barcelona have been made aware of their interest. Arsenal ready to make a move for Julian Alvarez in the final week of the window if they get encouragement from either the striker or Atletico de Madrid that a deal can be done. Christopher Nkunku on the verge of a return to Leipzig on loan from AC Milan. Joined Milan in 25 from Chelsea on a deal in the region of €40 million, one of several players deemed surplus by Ruben Amorim. Bradley Barcola still Liverpool's priority target, although they could get competition from an unnamed Saudi Pro League side for a €100 million move. That's from Nicolo Schira. Three-letter paper, United will not entertain offers for Joshua Zirkzee despite interest from Villa and Serie A. Sky Germany, once again, we mentioned the Nkunku deal. He'd already made up his mind, however, to join De Rotten Bullen. Villa made contact with Club Brugge over young center back Joel Ordonez, linked to Chelsea, one of several defensive options for the club as they look to replace Konsa. Hull City have reached a verbal agreement with Nice over the signing of forward Mohamed Ali Cho. Tigers are set to pay around £13 million to secure the signature. Could increase if they stay in the Premier League for another season, according to Fabrizio Romano. He also has a proposed deal taking Luis Enrique from Internazionale to Roma that is now off. Approved the transfer, but the Brazilian forward unable to agree to contract terms with Roma. Sky Sports Napoli considering Chelsea's Mark Guiu in their search for a new striker. Football Insider, Brentford prepared to test West Ham's resolve, submitting an improved offer for left back El Hadji Malik Diouf. Foot Mercato, Lille have identified Feyenoord's Jivai Ezekiel as Ayub Buwadi's replacement. Nicolo Schira, Como are still pushing to sign Moise Kean from Fiorentina, set to lodge a €40 million offer. Verbal agreement in place, according to Matteo Moretto, for Bayern Munich winger Brian Zaragoza to join Espanyol. Now, let's check with our friends and our sources and find out how busy they have been this morning. Once again, Ben Jacobs, one of the busiest men on the planet. And we'll see just how busy he has been this morning or in the last, say, 20 hours or so. It is FIFA Legends have released a statement saying that, quote, we have watched the game we love drift away from its core values under FIFA's current leadership, end quote, adding they will stay silent, no longer. Published already by Emmanuel Petit, Mikel Silvestre, and Lucy Bronze, with other FIFA Legends set to follow. It is basically, it ends by saying, for the fans, for the players, and for the good of the game, we will be silent no more. So it's that statement is up for reading on a lot of social media. Al Hilal's bid for Gabriel Martinelli is 55 plus 4 in euro. Arsenal are seeking closer to 60, so they're €1 million off. We mentioned Enzo Fernandez. Ethan Whitley set to join Lincoln City on a season-long loan, according to Pete O'Rourke for Football Insider 24/7. The agreement in place between Lincoln and Manchester United. Mykhailo Mudryk wants to remain in the Premier League as of Monday morning. Chelsea do not consider Leeds a viable option, yet Mudryk is open to a move there. Chelsea have several options, including Strasbourg. Remains to be seen if Leeds will still attempt a new bid, despite no breakthrough in talks over the weekend. Michele Di Gregorio formalizing his move to Bournemouth today. Loan from Juve, 12.5 plus 2.5 option to buy in pounds. Juve will also receive £1 million if Di Gregorio doesn't join permanently. And let's see, there's the Mykhailo Mudryk sweepstakes. There's Nico Gonzalez. Fabinho is en route to Trabzonspor to formalize a move. How do we know this? He's joining as a free agent after leaving Al Ittihad. He's wearing a Trabzonspor jersey on a private jet. Maybe he's a fan of Trabzonspor. I don't know. But Fabinho has his a Trabzonspor jersey on, looking down at the jersey in and of itself. He's looking at the hemline of the jersey. So we'll see if they get the picture of him hovering a pen over a contract in short order. And let's see. We mentioned Esther Gonzalez, 33 years old. She moves to Saudi Arabia. And I believe that's it from Ben. Let's see if there's anything from Tommy Scoops. Say if there's anything involving any other moves. Let's see. So there's the Dejan Joveljic move. Nothing there. Nothing there. Joveljic, $6 million. And let's see. Team plans to have 3 DPs by the winter, if not by the summer window. Difficult decision to move Joveljic, but the club continues in their rebuild. Now at least $3 million in GAM as Sporting gets to convert the max amount. And the money's fully there after dropping $18 million on Andre Luiz. So no new updates. RSL have had talks with the Dutch midfielder Gigi Wijnaldum. According to Ben Jacobs and Bogert, Wijnaldum is a free agent after leaving Saudi Arabia this summer, impressed by the conversations with RSL, open to a move to Major League Soccer. So that has happened as well. And I think that's it. I think we're caught up for the day. Once again, remember, it will be even farther that we will continue to dive into Major League Soccer tomorrow. We'll talk about the twos tomorrow. We'll see what Casey White's up to. We're going to keep an eye on Tuskegee tomorrow, and we'll let you know what else is going on in and around everything here. Thanks to Bart Keeler for opening Pandora's box when it comes to the FA and the EFL Championship. And as always, it's great to catch up with Abe after a 2-1 win for Atlanta United on the weekend. Charlotte coming to town. Obviously, we'll have Opelagic coming up later on in the week, and we will track down what's going on in and around the planet and catch up with you every single day here on SDH AM, Monday through Friday, kicking off about 9:05 a.m. Eastern time. So for everybody here, thanks for dropping in, as you always do. Trying to see if I missed anybody. Oh, morning, Gabe, from NSBN Sports, which thankful for their partnership to show SDH AM and all the SDH content that we have these days. So for everybody here, to all of you there, thanks for dropping by on a Monday. Reaction Monday, as always, very, very cool to catch up with each and every one of you. Back at it again, 9:05 a.m. Eastern time. Since it's the end of the show, that means one thing. It means we get to do this, which applies to y'all, and we will catch up with you around the corner. From the Kaiser Permanente studios, it's another go-round of SDH AM. We'll see you later.